This is our video project. The topic we chose was the Mongolian Empire. This presentation was created by Albert Park, Catherine Altschuler, Mark Ramirez, and Camila Rivera. Our thesis is, the excessive expansion of land and the failure of power distribution consequently led to the Mongol Empire's rise and collapse. So who were the Mongols? The Mongols lasted from the 13th to 14th century. They developed an empire that began in Central Asian steppes. They expanded their land because of their many successful conquests. Through the Pax Mongolica, which is the Mongol peace, they were able to connect the East and West. The Pax Mongolica also allowed trade, ideologies, and technology to be exchanged and shared throughout Eurasia. Because of the ruthless invasions and great warriors, the Mongols were feared by all. They are known as the largest land empire in history because the territory included China, Iraq, Persia, Armenia, Belarus, Cilicia, Anatolia, Georgia, Ukraine, Romania, Siberia, Mongolia, Burma, Pakistan, Central Asia, and Russia.
What led the Mongol Empire to rise? Temujin was able to unite the Mongol Empire by appointing competent allies in key positions instead of his relatives. This ensured that each place was ruled correctly, which strengthened the empire. The Mongols had unique and powerful battle tactics, which allowed them to conquer a substantial amount of land. They began to invade northern China and later continued their invasions to Persia, Iraq, and much of Russia. The amount of land that was covered was 9.15 million square miles.
What led the Mongols to their downfall? Though they were great conquerors, overexpansion became an issue because they were horrible administrators. This means that they couldn't defend or govern the land they had already conquered. Another cause of their decline was that the Mongols were feared by all, which is a powerful weapon, but over time, the fear faded away. The grandsons split the lands and each ruled over a separate portion. They still had rivalries who would try to attack them, but because the leaders became single arrows instead of sticking together, they were weaker and easier to destroy.
So now, referring back to the thesis, how was the rise of the Mongols also a reason for their fall? The first evidence comes from their excessive expansion of the land. Early in Kublai Khan's reign, one of his Chinese advisors told him, "I have heard that one can conquer the empire on horseback, but one cannot govern it on horseback." This advice shows the biggest power and the biggest weakness the Mongol Empire had, their overexpansion of land. This overexpansion of land allowed Mongol to have a long period of peace, also known as the Pax Mongolica. Also, because they were in control of this huge land, they developed the Silk Road, an effective way to trade commodities such as silk, pepper, cinnamon, and linen, and acted as a great route to travel between Europe, the steppe, India, and China. However, there were some downfalls. The Mongol Empire collapsed through overexpansion because they could not govern their lands. It was too big and had no unity of culture. The empire was too big for one person to rule, so they split it up. Even though it split up, they still had trouble ruling it. This failure led the Ming dynasty to regain their land in 1368 and the Russians to gain independence over the Mongols on 14th and 15th century. The second evidence comes from the failure of power distribution among the relatives. While Genghis Khan had an effective method of assigning key roles to his competent allies, he did not come up with a method to distribute the power among his sons and daughters. His method of assigning positions to his allies were very helpful for the empire to thrive because this method prioritized each person's merit over their family. However, this method proved not to be effective after Genghis Khan's death because after his death, his sons and daughters had no idea how to split the power. This resulted them to split the land into 4 khanates, and each son's ruling over them. This was the beginning of the fragmentation of the empire due to wars over succession. The grandchildren of Genghis Khan disputed whether the royal line should follow from his son and the initial heir, Ogedai, or one of his other sons. The factors that led the Mongols to their highest summit also caused them to fall down from their throne. The overexpansion of land and not disputing power among the relatives acted as a double-edged sword for the Mongols. That's it for our final project, and thank you. Have a nice day.